God, step in them shit,
With your pants on the ground, pants on the ground, pants on. Pay attention when I talk it, man, these niggas all cap. You better tell them I'm too old for this rap. Pay attention to me, baby, I don't rap it, I jab. You better tell them I'm too old for this rap. Pay attention when I talk it, man, these niggas all cap. You better tell them I'm too old for this rap.
Now we'll go back into the Simon City guys. So this is a here, these would have been the leaders, some of the leaders. This card here shows these three guys all came up about the same time. They're all about the same age. And in the 60s, they were teenagers and they all were getting in trouble as Simon City guys, Simon City greasers. So they're all in court about the age of 17, and the judge is about to send them away. But the option was, or you can join the army and go fight in the Vietnam War. And that's what all three of these guys did. Okay. And one of them, the one on the bottom, was one of the main leaders of Simon City. He died in Vietnam. The other two came back. The one is on the far, your right, my left, is Rashid Zayed. That would be Arab. That would be the guy that founded the Simon City Royals. He would come back in 1969, and his family moved from North Avenue over to Lakeview, where a gang called the Ashland Royals out of Lakeview High School had existed for 1 year and had lost their leader to graduation and marriage. And so these guys came along. The family moved to the area. He gets back out of the army from Vietnam War and says that he wants to get the gang back together. And a lot of the old Simon City guys from North Avenue were older and weren't interested, but these new Royals here were. And so they agreed to unite and form a club called the Simon City Royals in 1969. And that's how the club came to be. And it grew really fast from there. They were heavy recruiters. They were really good at recruiting, especially in Rogers Park, where there was a strong Irish contingent. The Royals were really an Irish-based gang. Clubs are usually based on certain ethnic groups. The Popes really started off very Polish. The C Note started off very Italian. The Ashland Vikings were Puerto Rican and Polish, believe it or not. The Latin Eagles were Puerto Rican originally. The Latin Kings were Puerto Rican largely. Over in you see that when you go on, I think it's North or Division, and by California or Kedzie, where it says Humboldt, they got that big giant metal Puerto Rican flag that was like a statue of some sort going across the street. That was to mark the whole area was heavily Puerto Rican. A lot of gangs come out of that area. North Avenue on the north side was the gang hub back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And on the south side, it was 18th Street. They're both about equal distance from Zero Center. 18 blocks one way, 16 North Avenue was 1600 North. So that was the gang centers on both sides of the city back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, especially 60s and 70s.
Wow, that's history right there. Yeah, that's history right there. So look, who do you think is the most important, what was the most important person in Chicago? Capone or Matt Daley?
Good question. I think a lot of people would like to say Capone because of folklore or Bang Bang Chicago and everything. But Capone's not even from Chicago. He was from New York and sent to Chicago. Okay. Daley's originally Chicago. And let's look at another way. We look at pop culture. I think a really great example of pop culture is a cartoon called The Simpsons. They're basically the king of subversive comedy since 1989. And two of the main characters you see a lot are Fat Tony the gangster and Mayor Quimby. Both of them arguably modeled after, respectively, Capone and Daley. Right. Quimby's got that Boston Chicagoese accent. You know what I mean? The way he talks them that's the way Daley talked, right? The original Daley. And then you see Capone, Fat Tony, you know, the mobster look. I mean, if he was bald, he'd definitely be a Capone, but that's definitely the image they like to portray. Was I think we think of old gangsters. I think the first one that comes to mind is Capone, even though like you know, was bigger than him would be Lucky Luciano, Charlie Luciano. He was the main guy in New York. He's the one that sent everybody out to the different cities to take take the vice over. And it was Bugsy Siegel, a Jewish gangster actually, played by Warren Beatty in the movie Bugsy, who went out to Vegas, created Las Vegas, the very first club, the Flamingo, the big club out there started. He had this dream, this vision out in the middle of a desert, and he was being financed at first by people like Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky, his number one finance guy, a Jewish, accounting gangster. Meyer Lansky, a very famous guy in gangster history. These guys were financing Bugsy Siegel for his pet project out there, but Bugsy had a vision. The way the movie portrayed it, he didn't really care about the money he was getting. They eventually killed him over it, but they saw the project through, and now Vegas, to this day, Vegas is run largely by the mob. That never changed. They created it. They made Vegas.
Jimmy Hoffa, where is he? Where you think Jimmy Hoffa is?
The old legend was that he was in Giant Stadium, underneath Giant Stadium. I don't know. I haven't looked at that one in a long time, but honestly, if I really was going to research it now to get an answer, I'd probably look up to see what some psychics or maybe someone like Edgar Casey said if he was ever asked that in a. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Hoffa would have died before Edgar Casey died, so yeah, it could have been because I think Hoffa was the 20s. Edgar Casey died in 1945. So if anybody asked Edgar Casey, I would believe what he said.
Oh wow, you read Edgar Casey? You the first person I heard mention that name before. I thought I was the only person ever read his books. But yeah,
no, he's very popular in a lot of circles that I pay attention to.
Okay, for sure. Okay. One more question. What you think holds more truth to it? Religion or science?
It's a tough word. You're gonna have to say science is the truth based on just measured fact. The problem with science is that unless you've got an open-minded scientist that gets into metaphysics and understands that there's a lot of things going on with energy beyond what the eye can see, just like microscopic stuff, there's also invisible stuff that happens at other dimensions, other realms of existence.
Right.
The problem with religion itself is usually it tends to be organized with a lot of dogma, a lot of man-made rules get inserted into it, which are largely untrue.
Before we close out, you know what I'm saying? Want to say thanks for sliding through, man. This was an awesome interview, man. Love chopping it up with you. You know what I'm saying? You gave some real true history that needs to be, left out here. You know what I'm saying? And you was one of the key people around at that time to really speak on behalf of the Simon City Royals. So I appreciate you sliding through, man. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
You want to give any last words? You know what I'm saying? You want to tell the people out there?
Sure. At my age now, I would imagine some people roll their eyes, or if anybody that knows me, let's say, God forbid, like a family member or old high school friend, would see this video and see me and they all look at that stupid. Well, it's not really anymore. I find a like-mindedness and these older guys now. There's no more crime. We're not street gang members anymore. At my age now, I mean, yeah, there is a whole active gang of royals out there, but I'm not part of that world. At my age now, it's like a men's club. It's like being an Elks Club or something like that, or the Lions. And we're just guys that get together, sometimes dress alike and party, or have a drink and bitch about politics, like any group of men or group of people do. We usually bring wives and girlfriends along with us now. It's not the same anymore at my age. Now I can look back and reflect. I can talk about religion and other aspects of life because I've lived so many other aspects of life. Gangs aren't the end all, the beginning and end. gangs in my day were a vehicle to get out of one day. It wasn't to spend your life as a royal, it was to survive on the streets till you make it someday or till you grow up and get your foot in the door somewhere, get a job that can clean you up. That was the goal. Now these guys are joining like it's a lifelong commitment to violence and crime. A lot of royals I talk to and promote, I try and tell them to do the right thing. Do good things when you can. You know, you got to do your hustle, your side hustle, and you got to protect the neighborhood. But at the same time, you know, it's good to help an old lady cross the street or you know, something like that as a metaphor, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So look,
Enough badness out there already. Let's do something real revolutionary for gangs these days and start doing more good. And alliances help. Today's gangs, nobody gets along. Everybody's fighting with everybody. There's something called EBK, everybody killer. That was unheard of in our day. Our day was the reason why the Royals were on top is because they were experts at making alliances. We had a bunch of protection. You could walk around half the city and not look over your shoulder. The gangsters, the disciples, the gents, the cobras, we got along with them all. That was awesome. They don't have that anymore. And then we wonder why nobody gets along with anybody.
yeah, so that's all it is. We got to get back to that, man. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be, you know what I'm saying, face to face, through the internet, through these interviews, and just show the message, you know what I'm saying, and be the message we want the message to be. So, you know, I appreciate you, man. I salute you. Hopefully we gonna bend back again, you know, so you can talk about that sweat in the background, you know what I'm saying?
The sweaters, the cards, got lots more to talk about. We tangented today. But yeah, come back to me sooner. I don't mind talking to you. This is fun.
Yeah. You know, I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
catch up with you, man. I appreciate you, man. Soon as I go up, I'm gonna let you know when we up, man. And I'm gonna holler back at you in a minute.
All right, bud. Take care.
Thanks.
All right, brother. Later.